Moment of discussion as we look at the politics of the coast region. Really important, and we'll be engaging their leaders right here. And as we always say, it could be Mombasa region, but we also do not cut ourselves who actually are not Mombasa residents, so to speak, or not people from Mombasa. We also do not fail to speak about it, because yes, it is eventually the politics of region that, you know, escalate or culminate or go further to become the national politics. We all understand that the leaders of the coast have been, you know, adamant and have been stronger than ever before to say that it is now time that coast is also given that space that, you know, they'd be looking for. Every other person struggles to see that their region is placed somewhere on the table. What is there for the coastal region? And so we'll be engaging their leaders to tell us whether they still maintain this, or maybe there's been a shift based on how the politics of the day or the national politics is shaping up. Honorable Mohammed Faki, who is the Senator of Mombasa, is with us in studio this morning. And we also have Honorable Nasir Abdulswamad, who is the Member of Parliament of Mvita, also joining us this morning. And virtually is Honorable Joash Maangi, the DG, that is Deputy Governor of Kisii County, as we delve into this great conversation. So make sure that you're part and parcel of it, as I have told you earlier on. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela at TV47 KA. The coast region is beautiful. A little bit cold. Maybe it's because it's June. I don't even know whether I've been able to travel to Mombasa when it's June. I'm surprised that for a moment the coast can be cold.
Yeah, actually it's pretty windy. For those of you who want to swim in the ocean, just know that the waves can be a bit not as smooth as the other times. But it's a beautiful weather.
It is a beautiful weather. For once you're enjoying it, to experience the cold.
We ever enjoy
early August. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. We're happy to be here. Asante sana for hosting us. You know, normally when I'm doing my shows in Nairobi, I'm used to telling my guests karibuni. So I don't know what I say today.
Sister karibisha wewe.
Asante, nashukuru sana. It's been so friendly. Nimetembea sehemu za Kwale, nimefika hapa. So we're just looking forward to a great week in Mombasa County.
Thank you.
Doing a good job in terms of leadership. We've moved around. So much has changed, but we still would hope that we'd see more and more change in terms of development, and so much so. Honorable Mangi, can you hear us? DG, can you hear us? We are not able to hear the DG well, so as we try to fix that, I'll engage my leaders to join us on looking at what the papers detail. Definitely, there's so much in regards to politics, and so it's important that we look at that. I'm told the DG is here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Linda. I hope you can hear me now.
The DG can hear me, but we are not able to get the DG in studio, so kindly fix that.
Can you hear me now?
Honorable Mangi, good morning.
Good morning, Linda.
He'll be joining us later.
All right, we'll have him without doubt. But first, let's engage Honorable Nasir and Faki in the studio. We get to the politics of the day. There's so much that is happening. And before we even talk matters coast, I think it's only fair that we look at some of these stories that have been captured. They are of equal importance, especially when it comes to the aspect of how we're dealing with COVID-19, when it comes to the aspect of matters education. The front page of the Daily Nation, the front page of the Standard newspaper. The Daily Nation has a story right at the bottom in regards to matters education. We're having our students going back to school. We saw how emotive it was in Parliament. I guess Honorable Swamad also was emotive at a point in time a month ago in regards to matters education. Just how best are we handling education, especially at this point when we also have our students joining in secondary schools at this new arrangement of competency-based curriculum?
I think that affects more of the primary schools than the secondary schools. But the issues that I had raised, matters education, was one, no child should be chased away because of lack of fees. Especially at a time when Parliament votes in a budget with the concurrence of Senate, that these students need to be given a certain amount of money allocated for the schools to be able to assist in terms of fees. And well, needless to say, when Treasury, whether it's the one that fails to release the money to the Ministry of Education, or it's the Ministry of Education, and of course there's an audit query that has come up that there's a number of students who are deemed to have been allocated that amount of money, but they're actually ghost students, they actually don't exist.
Ooh.
So it's, once we're able to seal these loopholes, I think, especially at a time like now when people are struggling, there's so much economic turmoils that are going on in the country, courtesy of COVID, people losing their jobs. Where we're coming from, there's issues that are not even just related to COVID that are resulting in economic downfalls. And this is what we've been striving and fighting for. Those are the matters that I had raised. And of course now there's the issue that is there. When they talked about 100% transition, the agreement was government was going to be able to factor in provision of building in new schools. This falls squarely on the national government. As CDF, we have a part to play, and you know, either building more classes or doing whatever it needs to be done. But at the end of the day, they should be, because this is money that has already been allocated. So that money should be spent for that, and that is infrastructure development.
Honorable Faki, Mazo, are you, all right, are you coming in?
I think on matters education, the government needs to do more.
Right.
Because right now they are talking of 100% transition.
That's right.
But the infrastructure is still the same number of schools, the same number of teachers. So you cannot talk of 100% transition when you still have the same number of schools and teachers teaching in the various schools. For instance, here in Mombasa, the members of parliament have tried to build new schools in some instances, more classrooms, but still the demand is far much higher than what we have on the ground. So maybe they should come up with a system, but they will need more teachers. System of where some classes start at 7 to 1 o'clock, and others starts from 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock to 7 in the evening, so that they are able to accommodate all these students who are transiting to secondary school.
Right.
But then you'll need more teachers, because a teacher cannot be in class from 7 to 7.
That's true.
And then from there, they have some assignments to mark, they have some homework to go through. So at the end of the day, you'll be overworking the teacher, and then there'll be no very little production in terms of output.
And I am curious to probably get this from you know, the view of the leaders as to whether we probably rushed this process. Because we all acknowledge there are a couple of things that need to be straightened. Something as basic as setting up of more structures is one thing that probably would have looked into before deciding that we're going to go the, you know, competency-based curriculum direction. We all have read something small, or maybe have been there at that point of transition to 844. As they would argue, it has not been, or it wasn't an easy process, or you know, a light process, so to speak, and there were faces of the same. DG, if you can hear me, do you suppose we rushed into this, that maybe we would have taken some more time and thought on this one, acknowledging the fact that it has been dictated, or it has been said that this is an arrangement that is way better than the 844 in terms of preparing our students, are setting them up ready for the you know, job market?
Linda, first and foremost, let me say good morning to everybody.
Still not getting a hold of him.
And let me say
network
that
can be something. He's all the way in Kisii County, and therefore we hope that we'll be able to fix that. Coming back to you, we took this a little bit early.
There was always bound to have teething problem, and I think if they had said that, you know, it wasn't going to be compulsory, I can understand the situation. If we want to educate our children, we could not have just said that we want 90% transition. How do you start calculating who are the 10% who cannot be able to go? So it did not start early, it started late, in the sense that this is something that should have been done way before. If we wanted, I'll give you an example. Where I come from as a constituency, I inherited a constituency where we had about 70-something% transition rate from primary to secondary school. So that means almost 30% of children who had finished primary school were not going into secondary school. And then even lower transition rate for those who finished high school to go to levels of higher education. So you always were creating a gap every single year of about 30% every single year. And this is an urban constituency. And these figures were one of the highest in the whole of, the most pleasing in terms of more children were actually going into high school in the whole of Mombasa. You can imagine in other parts of the country where you know, it's not as urban as Mombasa is. So of course then that now created, and then it became a norm that, you know, for a child to finish standard 8, this is what the law says. So if I don't have the money, I don't have to take my child. Then I'll just be able to absorb my child in what I do on a day-to-day basis. Then came the advent of now these issues that are there, you know, like the tuk-tuks and the borders and all these other things. So people have started feeling that, you know what, this is something that is going to be able to give me income. When the issue of now getting into compulsory secondary education came in, we saw that there were more children going into school. There was, as a constituency, we've tried trying to map out using the local administration with the county administration to map out and see when where these children actually are the ones who are not going into school. But this should have been done way earlier. Not that it was too abrupt. It should have been done way earlier, and not only way earlier, the funding should have followed with it.
All right. And speaking of the funding and the excitement of making this happen, Mheshimiwa, reality is that we've also seen individuals that, you know, felt like it was necessary to frustrate this process, and not because they choose to do so, but maybe because of the circumstances of the ground. We speak of the teachers themselves, and, you know, the union, not both hints at, you know, beginning a new CBA without pay hike. They've been calling for pay hike, they've been calling for harmonization, they've been calling for, you know, of course, better facilities and so much. So in as much as we'd say that this is long overdue, and the fact that we'd look at it as a beautiful, you know, transition, do we still have, you know, that goodwill from, you know, different sectors within the education sector to make sure that at least these stakeholders are able to see this or oversee this into something that is going to be beautiful for the sake of, you know, transforming education?
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to say that planning for this system was a bit poor. Because for the 100% transition, they know the number of primary schools that they have. They know the number of candidates who every year sit for these exams. So they could have easily have invested funds in building secondary school wherever there is a primary school. For instance, here in Mombasa, we have within the island we have Tononoka Secondary School next to Kikoani Primary School. We have Mbeheni Girls, we have Sharif Nasir Girls next to it, so that those who finish immediately they can be enrolled in the secondary school. However, that because of the poor planning and the issues of corruption also, because we have been told that in the last Auditor's General's report, there were ghost schools which were paid millions of money, yet there was nothing happening. There was no such a schools.
That's true.
So because of poor planning, it resulted in this. Even now in the implementation of the CBC, there was also some poor planning. Not when Honorable Session was the Secretary General, he was complaining initially that they had not been involved effectively. But the government still went ahead to implement the programs, and now they have become, they are coming on board. And recently I think I saw in the papers that the new Secretary General has been able to have negotiations with the TSC and the ministry, and now maybe things will be on course. But poor planning is what has brought out all this problem. And you know, right now, any government program has to be subjected to stakeholder consultation.
That's true.
The so-called public participation. And in the case of education, NAT, KUPET, and Kesha, all of them are stakeholders together with the parents, so that they know what the government wants to do and they need to support it or have it discussed and come up with an amicable program that will satisfy all the stakeholders in that sector.
All right, well, so much happening in this sector of education. We definitely are here to always make sure that you get reports on the same. That is one of the key stories that was necessary to look at on the papers. We have the Standard newspaper, and the front page of the Standard newspaper is a bit different on the hard copy, and of course what we have on the soft copy. Raila Coast offensive to erode Ruto's gains.
This is the Coast edition.
Oh, this is the Coast edition. Well, of course, a little bit different. Normally with Standard it happens a lot. And even on what it is that we have still in Nairobi, and we also have this one, you find that it's a bit different when it's, because sometimes with that one imechapishwa usiku tayari, so it's released, and then there's also something that is new that is incorporated on the front page of the virtual one. Or the soft copy. And so there's Raila Coast offensive to erode Ruto's gains. That is on the Coast edition, and it's because it appears that they are just outfits to take these political individuals to the next step, and once it's done, over and done, and then that is where we have these troubles that are culminating. Your party, Honorable Abdulswamad, ODM, appears to be frustrating the NASA brothers.
How exactly?
In terms of the party fundings and sharing of this and all.
I'll tell you, this is something that people need to understand. First of all, the MOU was signed on the basis of us actually having to
ascend to power,
to ascend to presidential.
To presidential, okay.
So when that does not happen, then if I sign an MOU with you that we intend to build a property here, and once we build this property, then we will be able to assist so and so, so and so, and this is what we will be able to do, and you actually end up not having been able to build that property. Legally as well, and even just intellectually, if you just look at it, just common sense, it did not happen.
Okay.
So how do you implement something that never happened?
Okay.
Then secondly, the money that has come in, this is in the constitution, it's in the acts of laws, 0.3% of national treasury goes to political parties. And the reason why this was done, the framers of the constitution, we wanted a vibrant democracy in this country. So by virtue of doing that, what was deemed by those who actually did this was, let us try our best to strengthen these political parties. Political parties need to be strengthened, you need to open up. So there was a threshold that if you get a number of seats in parliament, then for that threshold, you're entitled to a certain amount.
You see, it could be easy to say this, Mahesh, simply because probably your own parties, in a huge way benefits from this arrangement. And when we're speaking about the political parties funding law coming out, to focus much on just, of course, funding these key parties, say the two. Yet we have other parties that indeed are formidable, that are worth. In the event that you probably were in ANC.
But you see, being worth, just a minute, Faki.
Yes.
The issue is this.
Okay.
The issue is this. The MOU was with regards to the presidential election. Okay.
So it did not happen.
It did not happen. Now with the political parties, there was a contest. For instance, here in Mombasa, NASA affiliate parties fielded candidates everywhere. In Kisauni they won, in Nyali they lost, in Changamwe they lost, in Jomvu they lost,
Mvita they lost,
Mvita they lost, and Likoni they lost. So how do you ask us to share?
It is unfair, you think?
Yeah, it is unfair because we have already we fought on the ground.
Yes,
we won, and it is our party that won. So we cannot be asked now to share something that is coming to the party.
Okay.
Yeah, it is not for the president. If it was a presidential election issue, then it would have been
A different thing.
A different thing.
Do you suppose there should be a review of these laws? Because let's face it, Mheshimiwa, in most cases we concoct laws that end up biting back, you know. And today could be you are falling on this. And I can tell you for free, maybe the likes of, you know, Musalia Mudavadi and Wiper Party, Kalonzo Musyoka would be for this angle of addressing matters, especially when it comes to parties funding law. But then again, it gets to a point where it bites you and you realize that you probably would need this funding, and therefore maybe a review of the same laws would be a good thing.
Let me tell you what the danger in that. The danger in that, that we have some parties in parliament today who are, you know, one or two people
representation
who are represented in that particular party. Then what's going to happen? You've got independent candidates who are going to come up and say that, you know what, as an independent candidate, you need to fund me as an entity of being called independent. So no, the issue is not about changing these laws. The issue is parties strengthening themselves and making themselves more popular, selling their ideologies, selling their manifesto, make themselves more acceptable. And by virtue of doing that, then automatically, you know, it's a pro rata. You can't, I mean, if that's going to be the case, then every single day we're going to have, it's like now saying that take a certain amount of money, and instead of now distributing it for purposes of strengthening political parties, you're taking that amount of money and just handing it over.
How different would it be, Honorable Faki?
Let's take the example of Jubilee.
Okay.
Jubilee folded all the
conglomeration, yes. It was a merger.
They folded all the parties.
Yes.
Yes. They folded all the parties and went in as Jubilee. Okay? Yeah. So whatever money that comes in, it is coming now to the Jubilee. Okay. They never had any inter-party quarrels. Now they have an intra-Jubilee quarrels. But there was no inter-party contest between the Jubilee affiliate parties. Right. So in that scenario, it will be wrong for instance, President Uhuru Kenyatta to withhold the money and not share it with the other parties that joined in to merge into Jubilee. Yes, because all those parties now have come in to support Jubilee. I am curious to understand. In our case, each party was allowed to field a candidate. And you know, for instance, in the Senate, we were very generous to the affiliate parties. Right. When we went in, Senator Moses Wetangula was the minority. We'll tell you, it wasn't a generous moment for him. Yeah, he was a minority leader. Yeah. They had Senator Khaniri, who was from NC, our representative to the Parliamentary Service Commission. We had Senator Malala from Kakamega, who is also ANC, was in the speakers panel. We had Senator Were. She was a deputy minority whip. Okay. You know, all of this position until now. Were coming from our partners in the NASA coalition. Yes. And none of us who are in ODM complained. Oh yeah? Yes. It was messy and noisy with Moses Wetangula, honestly. There was a huge complaint, and today he's not in that position.
But I think also you have to understand that there is a party, we had to now take a stand that this is what we want. You know, we want to grow as well. We feel the need to be able to grow. Right now, this Political Parties Act itself, you can only be able if you're going to garner at least 5% of those votes. Now, that is the law. In terms of us being able to say that, you know, I mean, as he was saying, rightfully, that we had all these other leaders from the other political parties. In the last parliament as well, you want to know that we actually went ahead. The late Nyenze was the leader of minority in a parliament that I served in. He was a Wiper member, you know, and ideally, if we wanted, ODM still had a larger chunk. If
it was easy to share these positions in Parliament, you know, the Senate, why would it be so hard to just listen to what it is? Because
funding? One is guided by law. The law is so simple and very clear that, you know, this amount of money goes. It does not go into a joint bank account. It goes to the account of the party that has at least 5% representation.
It has. It is an era of coalitions. It's an era of Mheshimiwa.
These are public funds.
There's era of coalition.
Will it
and
be
there's
easy
an
in
era
the
of
event that they say
mergers.
yes?
I mean, like my colleague, the senator, has said, on the part of Jubilee, they merged. They merged their parties,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
And by the way, this is now what it is, you know. I mean, what is the name of the party that merged with TNA? I mean,
there was URP.
URP, you know, some of these parties have even now gone obsolete, you know, we don't even know
whether they're in
existence or not, because they merged. They looked at all these parties, whether they merged for purposes of winning or whether they merged for purposes that they have a similar manifesto that they share for Kenyans. They merged.
It was NASA. It was not a total merger. In the event,
it was not a merger at all.
Yes, it wasn't a merger.
Yes.
It wasn't a merger at all. It was a coalition. In the event that you people sailed to the level that you wanted to sail, do you think the conversation would be different in terms of funding today?
Actually, the coalition had nothing to do with Parliament.
Okay.
Coalition had to do
with the
presidential elections, and that's the reason why, as the senator has said, in Mombasa, every single constituency, every single ward, gubernatorial position, women rep, every single position, all these partner, you know, it was like friendly fire, but in some cases those friendly fires were actually hurting. But they fielded candidates. They fielded candidates in Mvita. They fielded candidates in Likoni. They fielded candidates in Jomvu, Changamwe, Kisauni, Nyali. They fielded candidates for. They fielded candidates against my brother, Senator Faki. You know, so now that we won, how do you say that, you know, by the way you won, but there was an MOU, but MOU had nothing to do with
and at the end of the day, these are public funds.
Okay.
Which will need to be accounted for.
Exactly,
So
they're audited. They're audited by the Auditor General.
Well, interesting conversation right here in studio. Honorable Mangi, I hope we are lucky enough to get a hold of you this morning. Good morning, if you can hear me. Well, I'm afraid we might have to probably engage him some other time, because then it appears that the heavens are not in favor of this conversation. All right, speaking of which, Kiamba, and we all know that there was quite a heated one here at some point in time in Msambweni, and here comes Kiamba. I know that would not be the main focus, in as much as it appears like it is a litmus test to what is likely to happen in 2022. The intolerance that has been witnessed there, the division that is evident, the clashes that have been there between, yes, these parties that fall under, one an umbrella. I mean, and to speak about UDA, they will constantly tell you that UDA is under Jubilee, and UDA is Jubilee, and Jubilee is UDA. But on ground, it appears like it's a whole different thing.
Of course, this is, there's no doubt about it. This is a battle between the president and his deputy. And it is not even an issue of a battle between the president and his deputy. It's a battle between supporters of the president and the supporters of the deputy president. And democracy is good. Fighting ideologically is excellent. But what is not is when you now have to use some form of physical force. And where you have to use some form and levels of threat. You can be able to argue, we can agree to disagree, but let us not push ourselves to the extent of having chaos.
Right.
This is not the Kenya that we want. We're better than this. If there's anything at all, people need to learn. I mean, we really need to learn. There is no room for violence. I mean, fight with my ideas, fight with what I believe in. If what you believe in seems to be better, let the better person send their message out there. And when I say better, not better in the sense that, you're a better orator or you're better at a charm offensive, but better in terms of this is what actually people want. There's actually what people need. There's a difference between what people want and what people actually need. Let your message sink in that this is what you actually need. Instead of us going into such, it doesn't help at all.
All right, it's just days to these, by-elections. a majority of
17th,
things
I believe?
It should be 16th. No, it should be Thursday. Thursday is not 16th, it's 15th.
15th,
It's
yes.
15th on Thursday. And so much is being looked at. Of course, the politics of 2022, the capability of IEBC to hold or to take us through these processes. I mean, the peaceful coexistence, the aspect of security, and so much more. What would you make of what we have so far?
So far, I don't think IBC is prepared because we are still in the same structures that we had in 2017.
Yeah.
And the reforms that were envisaged have not really happened. You see, the police are still in control of the situation. Ideally, the IBC should be able to control the police in such a situation so that the ground is even for everybody. At the moment, you find that the police are acting at the behest of the state. So in a situation like the other day when in Mugirango, is it Mugirango? Where we had a by-election in May, and our candidate won, the ODM candidate won.
That is Mukoma Kisi?
Kisi,
yes. All right.
The ground was so much tilted in favor of the
Kiamukama ward.
the Jubilee candidate who was also being fronted by Honorable Matiangi, the CS for Internal Security. So in such a situation, you cannot divorce the police from Matiangi. Matiangi was an active participant in the by-election, supporting a candidate, and he's the person in charge of the police. So they cannot, the police cannot be said to be fair and impartial in such a situation. So we need reforms in IBC so that the police act as an independent organ of the state. Because without that, they'll still be used in 2022 and many elections to come that are likely to occur as a result of maybe deaths of members of parliament and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So we need proper reforms before we go to the general election.
All right. Even before we discuss the politics of the coast further and generally what is happening in the nation, I know you don't have this, but you know, it is something that is in the limelight. No trace as hunt for Gogo in hits 2 weeks. We are worried about the aspect of security, to be honest. Crimes of passion, you know, the police service has turned out to be something else. The level of, you know, mental instability that is being witnessed down here is equally wanting. And so when we're speaking about security and we have this woman who's been, you know, who's being searched for quite a while right now, I mean, we're not able to get a hold of her. And we're speaking of a country that is highly, you know, of course, endowed matters intelligence and so much more. Do we honestly have the confidence in the, you know, security forces?
I think the issue that is here is that the country needs, the security actually needs to now get out of that system where you go and you start writing, you know, OBs with, you know, what are those blue and black sheets where you put in the middle of papers and
carbon papers
and everything. We need to get out of that system of policing to more of intelligent policing. I've always said this, that the police need to, I wish that internally they can be able to create room or a budget for them to be able to look at ways of interacting with the citizens to allow the citizens to believe that they're part and parcel of them and they're here to assist them. The thinking behind people that, you know, when you look at the police, every single person, today if you look at all rankings, when it comes to rankings to do with corruption, there's always a police force that heads that. If you look at people if you ask people right now, what are the chances that you've been harassed by a police officer or by a thug, chances are there will be a police officer, because the police officer can be able to stop you in front of anyone's eyes. And the problem is that a few of these can make havoc for everyone else. I'll give you an example of what we did in the constituency. We had areas, in fact right now here within Old Town areas, and we are doing this in other parts as well, where we had problems of insecurity. We just adopted a system where we worked with the community and we installed CCTV cameras. Just CCTV cameras. Crime rate in those areas reduced. And when I tell you reduced by as good as about 95%.
All right.
That high. I have now made a personal decision. In fact, this is not even funding from the CDF because of the bureaucracy involved with the CDF funding and whether it is the law allows us to be able to spend on that or not. But we have now said that especially now, you know, when we're getting all these abductions going on, you hear of this person has been abducted, this person has been abducted. We are trying to start saying that within and out of the school, especially we're going to start with the girl child, put in CCTVs that are going to be monitored within the schools. And we've already started this program, we're rolling this out. Not for any other reason, but first of all so that people can be able to feel that, you know what, there's someone who's going to see us if anything happens. But the reason why as well that insecurity goes high, it is correlated to poverty index. If you look at anywhere in the world, you know, where crime gets high, it is correlated to the economic situations. And when we talk about, you know, I'm reading the papers today.
Mostly in urban centers.
Exactly. I'm reading the papers today. Look at this. There's a story here. This is something that I just raised in Parliament just last week. Just last week, where they talked about the bus companies. You know, and I raised this matter in Parliament.
There you go.
That the buses are closing down because you've put in sanctions on these buses because of COVID. They cannot be able to carry at night. They cannot be able to carry more than 50% of the passenger load.
So
at the same time,
exactly.
But you see, at the same time, this is where when government starts to compete with its own citizens, government will always win. But it does not directly win. It wins by some fake numbers because its citizens are dying, so they will need more help. Now, these are people who are paying taxes. These companies today, companies that have been known within this region for so long are shutting down. Why? Because you allow the SGR to travel without social distancing at 100% capacity. The same SGR can be able to make people travel at night without a problem.
That's true.
These guys cannot,
they cannot.
Exactly. They cannot be able to travel at night. And even if they travel during the day, they can only be able to carry 50%. You expect these people with the same rates. These guys were in coexistence. They were living harmoniously together with SGR. Even at a time when the president made an announcement that I want the Madaraka Express to be at this amount of money, when they were even cheaper than buses. The buses were not complaining. They were still being able to, you know, to stay afloat. Right now, you've shut them totally out. The SGR today is doing about 9,000 passengers. That's about 200 buses off. And those people, it's not that they have a choice. They don't have a choice. If someone wants to travel today to go to upcountry and they're working in Mombasa, ideally, they would want to travel Friday night, get to Nairobi, spend the Saturday, Sunday, or go to Shags or wherever it is. By Sunday night, they travel. By Monday morning, they're back at work. Now, you've locked these people out. If they want to travel today, they'll have to either take the Friday off from work, so that becomes a problem, and they'll have to take Monday off, so that it's the only way they can be able to spend the weekend with their families.
You know what, more people is saying?
They normally travel by SGR. There's an SGR that goes at night.
Exactly.
It leaves at 10 p.m.
Yes.
Arrives in Nairobi or Mombasa at 4 a.m.
Yes.
So it's more convenient to
travel at night. Actually, 80% of
buses.
Yes.
So they have locked out the buses completely. And that is, and the buses you see, it's not only the drivers and the assistants that are benefiting.
Okay.
But all the
along the whole way, the whole corridor between here all the way to Nairobi.
Eateries on the road, they all benefited from this business. A lot of eateries have closed down now along the Mombasa-Nairobi road.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mombi Mureli is watching.
know-
Let's pick this feedback because it's really important that we also engage the viewers back at home. And Mombi Mureli is saying that true to it, this has hugely, made very many families to suffer. That is in regards to the roads. And I mean, she says, well, Mweshimiwa says that, he was speaking about this in Parliament. Just how far are they willing to push this to make sure that such are cautioned? I'm a wife of a truck driver, and I can tell you the times are tough for us. Somebody else is saying, I mean, even as we're having this conversation this morning, this is Mukoya, argues that the high cost of living is outrageous. What are members of parliament doing to make sure that they're able to fight for the common mwananchi? Charlie Msafi says, thank you so much for taking us through that session of the newspaper. We are now enlightened on what is happening. And Mukoya Aywa again says, Kiamba Mata, it is clear that politicians are orchestrators of these chaos. It appears that, some of our majority of these, blames squarely lie on the politicians, the members of parliament, the senators, the executive, the members of county assemblies. Honorable Faki.
Members of parliament do not have a say in the deployment of policemen.
They are supposed to represent us. They are supposed to speak on our behalf and all that.
Yes, they have no say in the deployment of policemen.
and
we can only complain. We can only speak in parliament that this is not happening, and then the minister or whoever is in charge will be summoned by the state. On matters escalating cost of living, yes, parliament has a big role to play. And if you look at the taxes that are being imposed on the citizenry, you'll all agree that it's making life very difficult for many Kenyans. However, this is an issue that lies squarely in the regime of the National Assembly, because they are the ones who discuss the finance bill, and ours in the Senate is only to look at the county allocation of division of revenue between the national government and the county governments, and then the county allocation of revenue. Once we have agreed that this is the amount that is coming to the counties, then we now divide that amount to the respective counties.
Well, in defense, he's a member of parliament, he's here.
The issues that touch on the taxation, the actual taxation, are squarely in the regime of the National Assembly.
Okay, and we don't want to hit you hard because it's your birthday.
Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Hatutaki kukuumiza sana. Who explains so much about
no,
about the National Assembly. No, we'll come to that. I think it's only fair that we say happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for choosing to be with us on such a special day. And therefore, on that note,
my senator just promised me breakfast from here. So.
I promise you a cake.
Thank you very much.
You receive gifts from us.
Thank you very much.
I promise you a cake, and so happy birthday.
You'll have to declare the cake.
Well, after this break, we're coming back with more. I have a cake voucher, and therefore I'll give you the voucher.
Asante sana.
And share the cake with family, with friends.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And yes, we say asante sana. And so much feedback is trickling in. We'll be sampling all this as we come back. I think it's only fair that we take a short breather. On that note of singing happy birthday, we sing happy birthday to Mheshimiwa. After this break, we come back.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. We still have more that we are looking at this morning. Remember, later on we'll be delving deep into matters health. We understand the journey of pregnancy, but first things first, we still focus on the politics of the day, the state of the nation, what is happening currently. Current affairs, really important. Remember, we are in our Pani studios. It's a special edition of Morning Cafe. We are glad that you've been loyal to us, and we say asante sana for your feedback. even as we continue with this incredible set. Remember, we're here all the way to Friday, so make sure that you always keep it. TV47, the home of untold stories. Still with me in studio, and next to me, Honorable Nasir Abdulswamad, Member of Parliament of Mvita, and Honorable Mohammed Faki, who's the Senator of Mombasa County, as we delve deep into understanding the politics of Mombasa and generally, weighing in our sentiments as to the issues that are of importance to you and taking center stage in the country. We still have more feedback from us, or from you that is, and for us. Nyandemo Robert says, please ask Mheshimiwa, there are two, I don't know which one, and they all sit in ODM party, why his party ODM abandoned the call for IEBC reforms. Honorable Faki, probably you're the person to answer that.
I don't think the party has abandoned that reform. It's part of the package in the BBI reforms which have been stalled by the court judgment. So it will be part of the BBI once the court gives the green light for the BBI to proceed. Yes.
Okay, all right, and you'd want to say something about that?
No, he's summed it up. Yeah, and I think we as a party, we respect the independence of the judiciary.
That's true.
We might not agree at times with the verdict, but despite our disagreement with the verdict, the respect still remains.
What way BBI?
First and foremost, people need to realize this. I mean, the problem that is there is this feeling out there. And this is propagated by the naysayers. The people who actually there was really nothing else except In fact, as a matter of fact, this is not the first time that Raila Amolo Odinga has pushed for a constitutional change.
Yeah.
And guess what? Those who benefited from his effort
are the
ones who are reaping reaping the benefits and the fruits.
The ones who countered.
The ones who actually refused constitutional change are the ones who are benefiting from it. A constitution is not there to be able just to serve Linda or Abdulswamad or Faki. A constitution is there to serve all of us. A constitution of Kenya is what guides us, that this is the way that the country needs to be taken. This is what the values, the principles of what we believe in. So when all said and done, today we would not be having the same deputy president. Because he's protected by the Constitution, and we respect that fact. And guess what? If it was not for Raila Amolo Odinga to push for the amendments that we have to protect these particular seats, we would not be having that. We would not be having constitutional offices right now. Kenya National Commission for Human Rights, the National Land Commission, and many other commissions, Teachers Service Commission, many other commissions that are today enshrined, that are protecting the interest and protecting the independence. Today, this judiciary, as bold as it should be, again, we might not be able to agree with the issues that they talk about, but the boldness of the judiciary, the independence of the judiciary, was courtesy of the same pushing that Raila Amolo Odinga pushed for. Today, when you see all these people coming up and saying that, judiciary, Kibukoeno or something like that, guess what? The person who ensured the judiciary will be able to, grasp their independence is the same person that this is going against. The same people who actually voted that no, we do not need a constitutional change are the ones who are benefiting from this, and we're not crying about it. We're not crying about it because that constitution was changed not because of one individual or two individuals or three individuals. Even then, when people were talking about changing the constitution, there were those who said that, you know what, this is being done because of individuals.
Maybe the bone of contention is not in the changing of the constitution or amending of the constitution, but on priorities, as they would say. Is it a priority now? It would be on the fact that, you know, we still have a constitution, the 2010 constitution. We've not implemented half of it, quarter of it. Why should we rush into making amendments? We have lots of loopholes, and they said, you know, well, let's sit down and deliberate and make changes and, you know, agree to disagree or disagree to agree, whichever way. But this was not welcomed, and therefore, the problem is not in the changing, but on the nitty-gritty details of this process.
Funny enough, those who are saying that it's not time for changing the constitution are the same ones who have been implementing it for the last 8 or so years.
Okay.
About 10 years now.
Or have failed to implement it.
They have been failed to implement it. Now they are saying, no, it's not time for the change. You know, a constitution is not a static document. It is a document that is evolving. Okay. One of the major issues that has come up is the fact that the state power is wielded by only two or three individuals in the country. Yeah. So they need to distribute the state power so that everybody in Kenya thinks that he's part and parcel of the country. That was one consideration. And this alienation of other communities from the state power is one of the considerations that made it possible for BBI to come up. Then the other item is the fact that even currently in Parliament, committee chairs represent the executive. And you will agree with me, many of the committee chairs find it very difficult to go to the minister's office to wait for a response. Mheshimiwa has asked a question, for instance, this issue of
the buses.
The chair of the transport committee is the one who's supposed to bring the response to Parliament. If the minister was in Parliament, that issue would have been answered immediately. So this bureaucracy of delays in implementation of decisions, and then the CSS feel that they are above Parliament. Sometimes they send a CAS who is not known to the Constitution to come and answer questions, yet the accounting officer according to the Constitution is the CS. So there are issues that have evolved for the last 10 years or so that make it imperative that the Constitution now be altered or be amended so that we are able to be in tandem with the lives of the people at the moment. The other issue is with regard to the powers of Senate. Yeah, we had advocated for more power so that we are able to look at legislation that has been passed by the National Assembly, so that we are able to align it with the counties, and at the same time also look at whether it is in the best interest of the people. The veto power that maybe is resident in the US Senate.
Would be able to have. All right, so much also that comes up in regards to just how the three arms of government, you know, work together, complementing each other based on what the Constitution dictates. I know if we delve into that, it will be a whole new conversation. And sometimes it can be tricky when you're having two people who are from the same, say party, because they tend to agree on basically everything. I want to see whether we're going to have some disagreement or, different opinions as to the gubernatorial position of Mombasa County. I see that is something that has been captured on one of the papers also, the coming in of Shabal. And you all are sitting in the same party. I do not know your plans, Mheshimiwa. You will tell us whether you are, from the senatorial position, we don't expect you to go back. We expect you to go up, right? The gubernatorial position, at least Honorable Swamad, we are sure and certain that this is where he's headed. And then there's Shabal who's coming in.
We don't discuss people, we discuss ideas.
All right, so in this case, you don't want us to discuss
Shabal?
Tell us.
Not in any offensive manner. Not in any offensive manner. But I believe in that. I believe in wisdom is not discussing people.
Right.
I've been brought up by a parliamentarian of long standing. I have been a parliamentarian myself. and the senator will agree with me that a substantial motion will have to be put into place if you want to talk about someone in their absence.
Okay. We just talked about Honorable Raila Odinga. We've spoken about a couple of other people.
He's not of interest to me. I don't want to sound biased in any manner. And again, I believe in discussing ideas, ideologies. Bring me and ask me that this is a gentleman who speaks about this ideology, and I'll be able to counter that whether I agree with his ideology or I do not agree with his ideology, and I'll give you my reasons why I agree or I disagree with his ideologies. But if you tell me that, you know, we might as well talk about your cameraman as well, you know, and start discussing him or start discussing.
That's a smart way of running away from this question, but we're still here.
It's actually not running away. If you ask me directly, Linda, if you ask me, am I vying? I'll tell you, yes, I'm vying.
I know you are.
Yes, and if you ask me on what political party that I'm vying in, I will tell you that I'm vying on the Orange Democratic Movement.
Exactly. I started by saying that.
If you ask me again equally whether you know the reasons why I've expressed my reasons not once, not twice, but over the last almost 8 years as to why I believe in ODM an unwavering manner.
Okay.
If you ask me what it is that I have done for the people, I will be able to answer you that.
Okay.
But if you ask me what someone else has done, what they have not done.
To be honest, I just mentioned the three people who we know are powerful, are within the ODM party, or they sit in the ODM party, and you know, are people who've probably been proven and tested by the people of Mombasa County, and therefore it shouldn't be much about the Shabal himself, but the fact that he's coming in, and therefore we always speak of how this would alter the equation and the matrix, or so to speak. So it is not about Shabal, the person, but it's generally about the fact that it's a battle of titans. I do not know whether you're going for this seat. Tell us.
Myself, I'm not at the moment. I'm not contesting.
Excited about that?
Yeah, I'm not excited about.
Okay.
I still want to do the Senate for the second term.
All right.
So that we are able to come up with the structures that will enable us to do effective oversight of the counties. At the moment, the structures are still not in place. So I will need to do at least one term again, and then make a decision after the expiry of that term. However, Shabal coming to ODM is not a big deal. He is yet to come to ODM. He resigned from Jubilee just the other day.
Yeah.
So he is yet to come to ODM, and when he comes to ODM, he'll be welcomed by the party, and there should be no problem.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, but I need you to teach me a bit of English. You said it's going to be a bit of a battle of
titans. A battle of titans. You don't consider yourself a titan?
No. Define titan.
Define titan.
Define titan. I mean, titan would be in this way. I mean, Faki, how many votes did you get in the last election?
175.
175,000 votes, exactly.
All right.
I got about 47,000. How do you define titans? Titans, is it because you're in
numbers, the strength,
exactly.
your position in the party?
Exactly. So I'm just trying to wonder, if that is the case. I mean, Hassan Joe got about 100 and something thousand as well in the last election.
About 185 to 2.
There are people that we actually got more votes in the constituency that I represent is 1 out of 6 in Mombasa.
Yes.
1 out of 6. I got more votes than the ones who tried to grab votes from the whole of Mombasa.
Okay.
So don't belittle me.
So you're confident that you're a titan?
No, don't belittle me by referring others to as titans.
Oh my goodness. Did you just throw shit? All right.
And I asked you what it is. You said imposition in party. I've been in the party for 8 years.
Okay.
You asked me what else it takes. And
so the coming in of Shabal does not shake you in any way?
No.
I'm sorry, I know you don't.
No, because there are others as well who will be able to come in.
That's true.
There are others. I mean, I know for a fact.
From different parties also, yeah.
I don't know whether he has declared it publicly or not, but we have the deputy governor as well, who's been very loyal to the party.
Right.
Someone I respect very, very highly, and I respect him because of his principles, his outrightness. He has never ever used his position as a deputy governor at all to try and undermine the governor or what the governor believes in, and he wants to vie as well on the ODM party. And I'm sure there are others as well who are equally going to come up.
Also there as well.
Being a titan does not mean just because a media house wishes to portray
you as a titan.
Exactly.
All right.
So there's really nothing. There's really nothing. And I want to assure you, come what may, whatever it is that is going to happen in 2022, what is most important is allow the people to be able to choose leaders of their choice. I'm looking at the headlines that, whether people are seeking Joe's backing.
Right.
Joe has never voted for me, but I've voted for him.
Okay.
Twice.
Right.
I have been his brother and his friend at his lowest times.
Okay.
I have supported
So that's an outright endorsement?
No.
Not really.
I'm just saying that Hassan Joe is from Kisauni constituency. I come from Mvita.
Mvita, yeah.
By virtue of that, I voted for him. I voted for my senator.
He's not
he did not vote for me. But I stood by him at his worst of times. His worst of times. Times where there's some issues that I can be able to discuss on camera. There's some issues that, would be more on a personal. And we have had our agreements and disagreements as well on many items. Do I seek his endorsement? I seek his vote without a doubt. I will try and win him for his vote. I don't think that we really need, as others would wish, that to use his office to be able to try and propel themselves to power.
Okay.
I seek his vote, yes. And I have believed in what it is that he had, what it is the ideologies that he has. I would seek for that brotherhood not to stop. But saying that I'm seeking for his endorsement.
An endorsement is probably way better than
at the moment, Linda, it's too early to
Exactly.
To say that the battle will only be
between
Honorable Nasir and Shaban in ODM.
All right.
It is a bit too early. And it is now the time for maybe defectors to come in, others moving out. So it is too early.
And do you suppose ODM still holds the stamina it did at the coastal region?
Yes.
Because also this conversation has been on ground, and many have felt like, the ODM is losing or slowly losing the grip.
For Mombasa, I don't think so.
Still where?
Yeah, we are still where we are in 2017.
Right.
Maybe stronger.
We might be stronger.
Maybe stronger?
Yeah, maybe stronger.
Where do you think people are joining us?
Yes.
Shabal is joining you. It's going to be interesting to watch and just get to see. And so maybe towards the last minutes of the show, well, the gentlemen say that it's a bit too early to speak of the terrains or the political terrains. We can only wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you very much.
We understand how important it is that the vote is not divided.
Yeah.
Really, really important, because in the event that it's divided, then it lowers the chances, so to speak. And that's why sometimes, however much we do not want, we always find ourselves, speaking about other individuals and how we can actually coerce them to join our end. What is there for ODM generally at the coastal region and the larger coastal region?
I'll tell you one thing. A bit of mathematics. X divided by 0 is 0, isn't it? X divided by 1. So, when you look at something, if it is something that is worthy of being divided, then it is something else. I personally believe in what it is that we have been able to do.
Okay.
What it is that we stand for. I cannot speak on behalf of other people. I do not know. But this is a discussion that I have had with my party leader. I've had this discussion, and I look at him as more of a fatherly figure to me, where we can be able to spend many hours and discuss many things. He's taught me a lot of things, and competition is good. Competition is good not for those who are competing alone, but a political competition is good for the people. That means more and more will be able to come up. I strongly am of the opinion that it is not time to talk about individuals. Let us discuss about issues.
Hold it right there. I know if we are to talk about those issues, then we'd probably need 1 more hour to understand what you have said for the people of Mombasa. What
and we'll come up with a show for that.
We definitely do that. And I mean, we do not fail to speak about the politics and the individuals. I mean, it is hard to run away from individuals, Mushimiwa, whether we like it or not. And at this point,
well, I think discussing about individuals and when not in their...
Let's just say they shape the conversation.
Not in their presence would be unfair to them.
Okay.
Because I will be having a platform to talk about people when they're not here at all. But if it is an issue of to do with principles, you know, you've asked me about political parties, you've asked me about the state of education, you've asked me about everything else, then yes. But when it is someone who has a conflicting view to me, then that I think would be...
Let's take this a notch higher. Honorable Faki, how unfair would it be for us to speak about, now when we're talking about the coastal region briefly, and the politics of the coast and that momentum that had been gained, and the leaders saying that now it's time that we also have one of our own right at the top of the helm. How unfair would it be for us to discuss Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Joho as we close? Because still, Joho holds the position that he would love to challenge Right Honorable Raila Odinga on this. But you gentlemen speak highly of your party leader. It's going to be tough to watch how this unfolds.
Joho has declared his intention to vie for the presidency on the ODM ticket.
Yes.
Like any ODM member, he has that right. And our party is very democratic.
Exactly.
At the time when nominations are invited and he presents his documentation, then at that appropriate time people will take positions. But at the moment, he's just expressed his intention.
You know, it will be very hard for Honorable Abdulswamad because he speaks highly of Joho and says, you know, he will seek his vote. Joho would as well seek your vote.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, he has, and I've already declared. Actually, I've said it in front of in front of my party leader as well.
So people will support. Will support Joho.
Okay.
Others will support Raila. If they come to agreement, well and good. If not, then the ballot will speak.
Okay.
For all of them.
Right.
But we cannot say that. Somebody be denied his right to contest as a party member, because that now we're going back to the kind of days when people were not allowed to contest against President Moi. But now we are democratic. Last time there were people who expressed interest to contest, but later on they say no, Baba. We still want Baba to lead us, and Baba was given the ticket. Okay. So you know, ODM is a very democratic party.
Let me tell you, you want to know what you want to know, that this is a party that actually has those democratic principles and values. We've not said it once; we've said it very many times. When you look at Raila Odinga, we look at him as a father figure that surpasses just political father figure. I mean, we look at this person. I mean, this is a person who got detained in this country when his mother was being buried. He came to learn about it way later when some random prison warden just slipped a note to him to tell him, by the way, your mother has already been buried, you know, and he was right here at Shimulatewa. Why fighting for democratic space in this country? These are things that probably the younger generation need just to be reminded where this country has been able to come from. And he believes, in fact, the other day when we were reading that, you know, about some lawyer whose house had been ransacked, whether it was DCI or whoever it is, Kaminwa, and he was so upset. I was with him, he was in Mombasa at that time, and we were having lunch. I remember it was at a popular joint called Chachoma, and he was so upset. He was saying, I mean, you know, why would anyone do something like this? You know, this is not what we fought for. We fought for independence. People can be able to speak out their minds. And this is a person at the same time, I mean, I've said it in front of him. They say, why don't you give your support to Hassan Ali Joho? Yes, this is what we believe in. This is what we believe in. And whoever is going to win that ticket is the person that, you know, we will, and you know, by the way, democracy is not necessarily confrontational politics where you have to battle it out like what they're doing in Kiambaa right now. Democracy can be able to be through consensus as well. Democracy other than consensus can be come out in the form of nominations, whether it is through delegates, whether it is through every single party member being able to vote. So yes, I have personally, in fact, as a matter of fact, I'm the first individual
to vouch for,
to actually say that Hassan Ali Joho should vie for the presidency.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. We have to close it at that. It was good having you. Honorable Mohammed Faki, Senator of Mombasa, on my farthest left. Honorable Nasir Abdulswamad, Member of Parliament, Mvita.
Thank you very much for having me.
To discuss more of politics of the coastal region. We are here for the better part of the week, and therefore you can be rest assured that we'll engage all the leadership or the numbers that we can to make sure that we get to intensely understand the politics of the nation and, narrowing it down to politics of the coastal region. Asante Sana for the great insights, and Asante Sana for your time. We look forward to have you some other time, somewhere in Nairobi, of course, as we engage some more on that. We close this session at this particular point. As we're crossing over to a different one, we discuss matters held. Honorable Abdulswamad, allow me to just say happy birthday once again.
Thank you very much.
The voucher is here. Please accept our gift, our little gift, just to say it was good having you this morning. Asante Sana. Valentine's Cake House is somewhere around here.
Thank you very much.
Right at the city, and therefore you can enjoy that with friends,
I'd have it
family.
with my brother Faki, but he's fasting today.
Oh, he's fasting today.
Yes.
It's okay. It is valid until the 31st, and therefore.
And I'm gonna hold him to this.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right. After this break, we come back with more.